Welcome to Daily Gossip. You will get daily Hollywood updates here. Remember to subscribe for the latest videos. But today, we're taking you back to one of the most iconic tennis matches in history. A match that defined not just a rivalry, but an entire era of women's tennis. This is the unforgettable story of the 1992 French Open final between Monica Seles and Steffi Graf. A story of passion, grit, heartbreak, and history. In the spring of 1992, the red clay of Roland Garros was more than just a tennis court. It was a battleground. The air in Paris was thick with anticipation. Fans from around the globe had gathered to witness a clash of titans. On one side stood Steffi Graf, the elegant German with a lethal forehand and unmatched grace. She had already won multiple Grand Slam titles, and her reputation preceded her. On the other side stood Monica Seles, the fierce grunting teenager from Yugoslavia, known for her two-handed strokes on both sides and a fire in her eyes that defied her youth. At just 18 years old, Seles had already won 5 Grand Slam titles and was the world number 1. The world was not just watching a tennis match, it was watching history unfold. From the moment the players stepped onto court Philippe Chatrier, there was a tension in the air that you could almost slice through. Seles wore her signature headband, her expression steely, while Graf exuded calm determination. What followed wasn't just a match, it was a marathon, a psychological war. A test of endurance and spirit. Seles came out blazing. The first set saw her dominate Graf with brutal consistency and confidence. She took it 6-2, stunning the crowd with her intensity. Her ground strokes painted the lines like a master artist. And Graf, despite her foot, speed and elegant play, could do little to stem the tide. But Steffi Graf was no ordinary opponent. She had weathered storms before. She had been world number 1 herself and knew exactly how to respond under pressure. In the second set, Graf elevated her game. Her forehand began to explode off her racket. She moved with precision, her signature. Slice backhand forcing errors from Seles. Graf took the second set 6-3, and suddenly the match was tied. What had been a dominant performance by Seles was now turning into a tug-of-war between two legends in the making. Then came the third set, a set that would go down in history as one of the most gripping in Grand Slam history. The crowd, on the edge of their seats, had no idea they were about to witness a 91-minute masterpiece. Neither player was willing to give an inch. Every game was a war. Every point felt like a mini battle. And every break of serve sent shockwaves through the crowd. Graf, always the fighter, saved 5 match points during this set. Her mental toughness was on full display. Seles, equally unyielding, held her nerve through every twist and turn. As the match wore on, the physical toll on both players became visible. Sweat poured down their faces. Their movements slowed. But the quality of tennis only heightened. It was not just a physical match. It was emotional. The audience could feel it. Every cheer, every gasp from the crowd added to the electricity. In the air, you could see parents clutching their children's hands tighter. You could see seasoned tennis journalists putting down their pens, transfixed by the raw drama playing out in front of them. At 9-8 in the final set, with Seles serving for the match, time seemed to stop. Graf, who had clawed back again and again, stood across the net with determination in her eyes. But Seles had come too far to let this one slip. With a final series of punishing baseline shots, she forced an error from Graf and collapsed to the clay. She had done it. Monica Seles had won the 1992 French Open final, 6-2. 3, 6, 10, 8. The crowd erupted. Tears welled in the eyes of fans who understood they had just witnessed greatness. Seles lifted her arms to the sky, overwhelmed by emotion. In the post-match interview, she would call it the most emotional match of her life. And how could it not be? This was more than just a win. It was her third consecutive French Open title. She was still only a teenager, yet she stood taller than most legends ever would. Graf, ever the graceful competitor, acknowledged the brilliance of her rival. There were no excuses, no bitterness, only respect. That final was not just a highlight in Seles' career. It was a defining moment in the history of women's tennis. It was two giants pushing each other beyond their limits. It was about heart, about courage, and about refusing to quit. The 1992 French Open final is often remembered as the match where women's tennis proved, once and for all, that it could deliver the same level of drama, intensity, and skill as any men's final. But the story doesn't end there. The aftermath of this match added even more layers to its legacy. For Monica Seles, this win was a symbol of her dominance. She would go on to win the Australian Open in 1993, her 8th Grand Slam title. She was at the peak of her powers. But then, in a cruel twist of fate, tragedy struck. Just months later, during a match in Hamburg, she was stabbed by a deranged Steffi Graf fan. The attack shocked the world. Seles would be out of the game for over 2 years. And though she returned later, and even won another Grand Slam, she was never quite the same player again. That incident forever altered the trajectory of her career and added a layer of sorrow to what was once the most promising rise in tennis history. The 1992 French Open final thus became a frozen moment in time. Monica Seles at her very best, before the world became cruel. Steffi Graf, for her part, would reclaim the world #1 ranking and go on to win many more Grand Slam titles, eventually retiring with 22 to her name. Her rivalry with Seles, which had promised so much, was tragically cut short, yet the respect and admiration between them never faded. Even today, when asked about that match, Graf acknowledges it as one of the most intense and memorable of her career. The legacy of that match lives on. Younger players cite it as inspiration. Analysts call it one of the greatest matches of all time. And fans? They still talk about that day in Paris, when two women captured the soul of the sport in one unforgettable battle. In 2022, on the 30th anniversary of that epic final, tributes poured in from around the world. Tennis magazines revisited the match. Social media buzzed with clips and memories. Even the Roland Garros official channels paid homage to that historic final. Fans who were there still remember the sound of every grunt, every cheer, every gasp. They remember the sun setting on the clay as history was written, one rally at a time. To this day, when we talk about what makes sports beautiful, what makes tennis magical, we think of that match. Not because of the trophies or the rankings, but because of the fight, the courage, and the human story behind it all. Monica Seles and Steffi Graf gave us a moment that transcended tennis. They gave us art, they gave us heart, and now, decades later, we look back with tears, with goosebumps, and with gratitude. Because in that moment, on that clay, two women showed the world what greatness looks like. And we, the lucky audience, got to witness it. If you enjoyed this emotional journey into tennis history, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Daily Gossip. Share your memories of this iconic match. Where were you when Monica Seles beat Steffi Graf in the 1992 French Open final? Did you cry? Did you cheer? We want to hear from you. Thanks for watching Daily Gossip, your source for daily drama, sports nostalgia, and unforgettable moments. Until next time, keep believing in greatness.